Dear guests, dear colleagues, dear friends, it's a great honor to welcome you here at the University of Ljubljana at this meeting dedicated to exploring the role of artificial intelligence in meteorology. Today, the science and technology are advancing at an unprecedented pace, and at the same time, our understanding of the atmosphere and climate has never been more vital for humanity's future. Meteorology has always stood the intersection of knowledge and society. Weather shapes agriculture, transportation, energy, and also our health. It can bring prosperity or devastation. Today, as our planet works in event become more frequent and more severe than before, the demand for accurate, timely, and actionable forecasts is greater than ever before. There are artificial intelligence, in my opinion, opens new horizons. By combining the deeper physical understanding of the atmosphere with the vast deeper power of artificial intelligence, we can move beyond the traditional boundaries. We can uncover the patterns invisible to the human eye, harness enormous strips of data from satellites in different sensors, and transform it into insights that protect lives, guide policy, support resilience in the face of climate change. But it's not just about the algorithms or machines. It's about people, scientists and engineers, forecasters and decision makers working together across disciplines. It's about using the best tools for our age and society to prepare communities for extreme weather, to protect food and water, and to safeguard our shared future on this beautiful planet of Earth. This meeting is for me also a sustainable discussion. It's a step on the journey towards the future where knowledge, technology empower us to adapt to wisdom, to act with foresight, and to build the decisions for generations back. I thank you all for your investigation, for the years you read, and for the preparations you replace your use. May today's discussions are empowering new solutions because our shared vision of proper meteorology, empower artificial intelligence, and achieve for humanity, and to import beautiful to the planet we call home. Thank you very much.
So another applause.
I would really like to say, because I'm very much interested in climate change meteorology, because a vital part in that. It's a very important issue, but fortunately it's a very busy day and that kept that issue for the discussion.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tanya. Thank you so much for the invitation, and wow, what a beautiful venue. It's a pleasure to be here. As Tanya mentioned, I'm the president of the European Men's Society, and so I wanted to spend the next few minutes just explain what the European Met Society is and what our role is here this week in Ljubljana. So Met Societies don't do any weather forecasting or any research into weather and climate. We are here to support those people that do and those organizations that deliver those impulse and better services. So we provide activities and functions and structures that help to advance the science of meteorology and those working and studying in meteorology. The European Met Society is a little bit different because it pulls together all of those Met Societies from across Europe. So most nations have a meteorological society. There's one here in Slovenia. And the European Met Society brings all of those Met Societies together, and it's that strength in unity that really gives power to the European Meteorological Society. So we were established in 1999. So last year we celebrated our 25th anniversary as an organization. And we are currently made up of 38 member societies from across Europe. And alongside them, there are 31 associate members. Some of those are Met Societies from outside of Europe, but some of them are organizations from within Europe themselves. So ECMWF, where Florence will speak in a moment, is one of our associate members, for example. And the chart that you can see on this slide shows you how, from our launch in 1999, we have seen a growth in the number of Met societies. So the red bars on this chart shows the growth in the number of Met societies. So not only do we have strength and unity, the EMS has provided a framework to allow other national Met societies to form and grow themselves. So it's a real important function. The blue bars show the associate members, and again, you can see a significant growth over the last 25 years in the number of associate members that engage and support the important work of the European Meteorological Society. And each of those member societies, those 38 member societies, have individual members, and collectively that makes up around about 10,000 people across Europe who are engaged one way or another with meteorology. So each member society across Europe is very different. And so I'm trying to give you a flavour here of how the members, the individual members of the different member societies across Europe are made up. So in the top left here, you can see that the majority, the members of that particular organisation are academics. So 3/4 are made up of academics, 20 work in professions, so maybe our weather forecasters, for example, and only 5% are amateurs, so people who don't work in meteorology at all, but share our passion and interest for weather climate. If we move to the top right, you can see the balance shifts, so very few academics are members of this society, whereas many of those are professionals, so they work for those organisations delivering weather and climate services. And you can go around on the bottom left, you see it's roughly a third split, which is very much like the Royal Meteorological Society in the UK. We have roughly a third of our members are academics, a third of professionals, and a third of amateur. And then in the bottom right, you can see some organisations are really heavily made up of amateur meteorologists with very few academics and professionals. So each one is very different, and they are delivering very different activities that collectively we can share activities, as practice, ways of growing and reaching our different audiences. So I wanted to run a quick video. So this was created last year at our 25th anniversary, and shows you, so every year the EMS runs an annual meeting, and it runs it in a different country. So each of those 38 members hosts the EMS annual meeting. From this year, we are here in Ljubljani. So I'm just going to let this run. It runs for about 50 seconds. So you can see we move about Europe quite a lot. And for those of you who are observant, you'll notice we've met here before. We were in Ljubljana in 2006, so it's great to be back in this beautiful city. So our annual meeting is one of our main activities, and this week we're here at the Conference Centre, and it's an opportunity to bring the community together to share their science. There were side events on communication, so how do we communicate the important work of weather and climate. There are side events that bring private sector meteorological organisations together, and I think Carl will talk about that in his presentation. So it's really important part of the European Met Society that every year we can bring the community together to share their work, their exciting innovations, to look for collaborations, to work together. We also have a journal, so the Journal of the European Met Society, which we fondly call GEMS. That was launched a couple of years ago, and that again, it's a place where scientists can publish their important work. So another important activity of the European Met Society. And we've also, in the last couple of years, started running the webinar series. So we run about 6 webinars each year. So every couple of months, there's an online webinar, usually on different topics. So it can be a topic that's quite open to the general public, but also it provide an update in some of the science topics as well. And all of those webinars are recorded, so they're on our website if you wanted to go back and look at some of the webinars that we've done over the last couple of years. And you will also be able to see the program webinars that are coming in the coming months as well. So I would encourage you to go and take a look at our webinar series. So we are a not-for-profit organisation. We make most of our income comes from the annual meeting that we run every year. And any profit that we do make, we put back into the work of the European Med Society to benefit our members and our members' societies. And we're here for the benefit of everybody. So we're members of societies, we want to support them, but as a community, we want to make sure everything that we do benefits the wider society, whether that's advancing the science, whether it's the application of the science, or whether it's the throughput of services in Webber and Clarence. But as I say, it's a really important function for us is to be a body that can bring those member societies together so we have strength in unity. And one thing that we did last year at our 25th anniversary event was to make a pledge to become net zero, to reduce our carbon footprint down to as close to zero as we can. As you would imagine, many of us work in weather and climate. We have a very good understanding of the environment, the impact that we as humans have on climate and climate change. And so it's important that the European Met Society not only shares that science and has a voice, but actually takes action itself. So we've made a pledge to reduce our carbon emissions to net zero by 2040. This is an ambitious target, so the European countries are setting targets to get to net zero by 2050. We want to be doing that 10 years earlier. And in order to achieve that, we set intermediate targets, so one for 2030 and one for 2035. And we've produced a net zero transition plan, which is now fully embedded in the EMS strategic plan. So we make sure that all the activities that we need to implement to reduce our carbon footprint are taken forward over the coming years. And we are transparent about this. So every year we report our carbon emissions, the emissions that we directly produce, but also the emissions that are indirectly produced because of our activities. And we publish those in our annual reports. And yesterday I reported our emissions to our community. You can see 10 years ago or more, we produced a sustainable meetings policy, because the annual meeting is our biggest event and it is actually our biggest carbon footprint. And so it's really important that we look to ways of reducing our activities, our emissions activities, when we produce these annual meetings. Some of them can be done internally, looking for events that are low emissions. We can look at the refreshments and so forth that we use, and the transport to get people here as well is enforced. And we also benefit from the knowledge. So our community has a lot of knowledge around how we can get to net zero, so we can benefit from that and make use of that. So that's all I wanted to say really about the EMS. Thank you.
Silver is really not only. Thank you very much. I was very honored to receive this annual medal from the EMS. And he's talked about grouping Europe together and putting our science and means together to achieve something good for society. And I'm going to talk about the organization that I head, the GSP ECM, and our goal is really to advance the weather science for 35 nations and beyond. So this is our footprint at ECM. We have 35 states in Europe, broader Europe, supporting us. 23 member states in dark blue and 12 cooperating states in light blue. As you can see, Slovenia is a member state, and we are really happy to have Slovenia in the family, as well, of course, as many others from Iceland, Morocco, and even Georgia to the east. You can see we embrace Europe in a bigger sense than, of course, just EU or Montenegro Europe. So we have 3 locations. Our headquarters is in Reading in the UK, We have our data center in Bologna, Italy, and we have new offices in Bonn in Germany as well. So our goal, which was why we were created, was to deliver global medium range weather prediction to our member states. So medium range, the World Meteorological Organization says between 3 days and 10 days. So it's beyond a couple of days, but it doesn't go into the very long time scales. So that is what we're doing, but we also now monitor the Earth system beyond just meteorology. So we were born exactly 75 years ago, 50 years ago. I'm now getting older. Yes, sorry, 50 years ago, it's WFO celebrating 75. So everybody celebrated the big five, 25, 50, 75. So we were born the 1st November 1975, hence the confusion. And so the 1st of this November this year, we're going to celebrate our 50 years of existence. What we do, we are gathering all the observations that are being taken by all the met surfaces around the world. So that's something WMO has got a lot to the community to establish is sharing of observations. And so they come in real time from all over, satellite, in situ. So we have these weather balloons, weather stations, but also aircraft measuring temperature and wind while they fly commercial aircraft. So we gathered all that, and in particular, satellite data, they more than 95% of the data we use every day. So we use satellite, we use observations in general, and we use what you call the model. So this is our numerical weather prediction model. It's a representation of the atmospheres in this little mesh there. So it's a horizontal mesh, and it's gone to levels in the vertical to go from the ground to the stratosphere and beyond. So on this model, we put all the knowledge I have about the physics of the atmosphere. So it encompasses all the physical laws of how our fluid evolves. And it's actually also coupled with the ocean, with the sea ice, with the land. So it's not just the atmosphere, but it's mainly the atmosphere. So we developed these observations, this model, and that allows us to do top forecasts. Our priority is to deliver our forecast to our member states and cooperating states. And we have focus on the medium range, give to longer time ranges, but also focus on extreme weather events. And in particular, we create some products, like here we have an example of extreme forecast index, where forecasters can see very quickly where is the weather extreme today. And extreme, not just high wind, but high for that location and at that particular time. So you can see whether this is particularly extreme for the particular area you're at. And this was for extreme rain in Central Europe, where there was a storm Boris that hit these regions in September last year, almost a year ago. We also provide our data to all users, so all national met services, private companies, academia around the world. And it is being used quite broadly, in particular in the US. You could see here an example on television where they order a European body. I mean, ECMWF is very difficult as an acronym, to be fair. So we are, let's say, the European Weather Center. I think this would be a much better catchy name. So we are pushing the resolution of the model. So our model is 9 kilometers, which means that we have one value of meteorological parameters every 9 kilometers by 9 kilometers. So it's not very fine. It's not what a weather service in a country can do, where they refine of other country. But we are representing the whole world, so we can't go too fine. But we also try to go to finer resolutions, in particular in the context of Destination, which is a European program. We go down to 4 kilometers, and we even try to go down to 0.8 kilometers. So this is an example of a real satellite image on the left and a simulated satellite image on the right from one of these very fine-scale models that we are running. We also run for Europe the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service, and this is giving monitoring and predictions of pollution, of fires, etc. We're also very interested in the CO2 and the carbon, and this is just a little video of the CO2 emissions over a whole year. So when it's red, it's bigger, and when it's blue, there's not so much. So as you can see, in the winter, you have a lot of emissions in the northern hemisphere. You can probably see some of the polluters there. You can also see where the wildfires in Africa, for instance, produced on CO2. And then when vegetation grows, then you can see that it starts going a bit fatter and actually starts going grey because you absorb the CO2 in the northern hemisphere where it has grown. And so you can see the changes in the pattern through the annual cycle of the CO2. Our ambition is actually to monitor CO2 emissions, not just the concentration, but where it comes from. So you have had there a whole half year where you can see the change from a lot of pollution to actual CO2 to actually something a bit better in the northern hemisphere. We also run the Copernicus Climate Change Service, and this is actually monitoring the climate over Earth, and in particular with a zoom over Europe. In particular, every April, together with the WMO, with the World Meteorological Organization, we produce this annual State of the Climate, European State of the Climate. And last year, so we presented that in April, last year we could see that the European continent is the fastest continent warming for temperature over land, with an average when you average over the last 5 years, which is the climate indicators, you reach at least 2.4 degrees above the pre-industrial area. So definitely clear signs of global warming there. So artificial intelligence, that's the scene, but I need to first put the context there. So artificial intelligence gives us a lot of gain in time and in energy. So this is, let's stop the back. This is, we run forecasts. It's quite expensive because we have this big physical model running on a big supercomputer. It takes more than an hour. So the physics-based forecast is like the mouse here. It's, it's significant. It's not fast, but it's something. If you run an AI model, on the other hand, this is the orange there. So it's really nothing compared to the mouse. It's at least 1,000 times faster to run than the traditional model. But what it relies on is this elephant, which is the elephant in the room, is that it relies on our physics-based knowledge to actually train the model. So as you know, artificial intelligence, machine learning, feed on data, so it's a data-driven process. And so it analyzes data, and these data are actually coming from our lifetime. In particular, will be produced for European Union, the reanalysis ERA 5, which goes back in time from 1940 to now and produces all the fields in the atmosphere every hour from 1940 to now. And this is a very rich archive, and all the machine learning traditional methods seen emerging since 2022 roughly are feeding in these archives to predict the weather. So it's very good to say we just need the data, all the knowledge on the physics we gathered over the last decades are still very useful to train this data. So it's very good, these models, they are very good for several reasons. On average, those scores, sometimes for tracking hurricanes and tropical cyclone focus, depending where you are. They are actually much upper, but more accurate by 20 to 25%, which is significant. And so we are embracing it, and we have implemented a machine learning model at the European Centre earlier this year. So I think that's what I wanted to say. So thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really happy that my predecessors already contextualized everything, so I can really read it myself very on deep learning in environmental research. I won't go very deep into it, obviously, and the slides, sorry to say, are more as a reminder for me, just to have a clear line of what I wanted to tell you. So I will start with the first slide. Here you see one of the core problems of what I found to be the main problem in oceanography in Sardinia, and is a storm surges, coastal floods. This is a very extreme event from Iran in 2008. We've had very few events like this, but for example, in 2019, we've had 14 comparable events in 20 weeks. So this is an indication that something is happening. The frequency of the extremes, and in the past 10 years, for example, we've had, if you count the amount of time that we spent over the flooding threshold, the Slovenian coast, this time is double the time that we spent over the threshold in the 90s. So it can double the accumulation of let's say, floods in the past 10 years in comparison to Latis. There are several reasons for that, but we can discuss this later if you want, if you have time, just ask. So the way we started to work with storage such predictions was with a classical physical model. But as was already mentioned, classical physical models are typically numerically quite expensive. So the model that we are running now, for example, the supercomputer of the environment agency, takes about 300 CPU hours to compute from the full ensemble. We are taking these in doublet ensembles, which will be a game changer for us. But this is still very costly. We can do it, but we cannot do it every day. We can do it every day. We cannot update it as new measurements are. It's too expensive. So what we decided to do together with our colleagues, especially with Professor Matej Kristan's group at the Faculty of Computer and Information Science from this university, is that we try to develop deep learning, as a deep learning rectory to the very costly physics architectures that we are running. We're still running. But we managed to develop in the past years several, let's say, artificial intelligence-based models where the latest generation of these networks are actually trained. So if you take a look, here, the dots, so we are now creating predictions for all the dots here. This is the Slovene station Boba. But even if, for example, we get a sense of failure in Opar, we can still predict the sea levels for Opar because the network has learned what the sea level will be from other stations in the basin. So now we have a system which is actually robust to sense of failure. One of these networks was also implemented within Destination Earth, and it's created predictions operationally for the Estonian part of the Baltic Basin. The Hydra 3 network is currently under testing at Danish Meteorological Institute. So we already have predictions for Danish coastline, and we are also talking to the UK Met Office to see maybe this will be relevant for Britain as well. These networks are 1 million times faster than the physical models, and they produce comparable and better performance. So this is, for example, one area where machine learning is really changed, has really impacted a lot how we work. And we also retired, let's say, our classic physical explorer search model because there is no justification currently to QCAN. We're still worrying about this in the general circulation model, not the subpurpose storage centers. Then another problem that was very interesting for me was the problem of surface waves. Now, if you're standing on a beach, you're looking at the waves, you know that they have the wavelength of a couple of meters, and this means that if you wanted to model them with a classical physical model, you would have a resolution which is far below 1 meter. Okay, so you need to have, I don't know, 30 centimeter resolution, which is completely impossible to do. Based scale simulations, so this resolution is impossible. Which means that if you want to simulate waves, you need to find a statistical approach. You need to find the evolution of specific, let's say, properties of the wave field, and then you run that. But it turns out that this is also numerically very costly. And we were wondering if we can develop a deep learning architecture which actually produces a good alternative to model surface quakes. And we've done this together with our colleagues from Italy and our colleague Peter Maka from the agency. And we were able to run, let's say we got comparable performance to state-of-the-art surface wave models, and we could run them for 100 years in a couple of seconds. So this is a very good tool to study, let's say, how statistical properties will shift as the climate changes. Another interesting problem that we are working on together with our colleagues from University of Ljubljana and also from University of Liège is sparse satellite valuing instructions. So the problem is that when you have a satellite measurement, you will have gaps. You will have gaps because of clouds, because of limited swath area of the satellite and so on. And the question is, so if you take a look at this, so here you have a typical gappy observation of CSAT signature, for example. And the question is, how do you fill the gaps in the best way? Because there are many applications where you want to have the gaps filled. You realize that this is not perfect reconstruction, you don't have an observation, but you want to get what you can get. And so this has been done through optimal interpolation, through climatological approaches and so on. But you were wondering, okay, but maybe we can train a neural network to do it. And we developed a two-step neural network. The first part is a transformer, so a very similar architecture that you're using every day with, for example, ChatGPT or other generative AIs. So the first step is a transformer network, and this creates the gap fill. So it fills the gaps. But the problem is that the reconstruction is too smooth. So if you have a front, so a difference between, let's say, two water masses, this gradient of temperature will typically be overly smooth. So then we pass this overly smoothed reconstruction from a transformer into an iterative convolutional network which adds high frequency, and we train it to keep adding high frequency by repeating the reconstruction, so that in the end we get good reconstruction which has physically realistic high frequencies. Now, what do I mean with this? If you take a look at this part of the Mediterranean basin here, for example, these are the gradients of temperature in the measurements. And here you can see our reconstruction. So we've artificially hidden the null data from the network, and then we said, okay, we know what's here now reconstructed, so we can check if we get sensible results. And this part here is an alternative convolutional network. This was state-of-the-art method, but you can see that it's overly smooth. If you compare it here, the reds are not as dark here as here, which means that this convolutional autoencoder is actually producing too smooth fields. And we were able to correct this by parting it. So this is something that we can now use to gap fill either wind scattorometer data, chlorophyll A, ocean coral to BPT, whichever parameter you have, which is gappy, we can use this. So a possible alternative that's, for example, interesting for me is that you would take scattorometer data which measures the surface wind over the ocean, we would get field, and then we would try to see if to reconstruct, for example, some stolen subjects better than with a spectral. And the last bit that I would like to mention is so another mainland problem of Slovenia, hydrological floods. This is an event that everyone from Slovenia knows. It's August 23. These were centennial floods a couple of years ago. And actually our prediction models at the time, so the classical prediction models at the agency were to be very wet, and so these floods were predicted in time. But you were still wondering if we can maybe use modern architectures from deep learning to create another alternative for hydrological predictions. And again, it turns out that I'm very optimistic about the results. And one of our colleagues is now working on this a lot, Peter Furlan. And it looks like we are actually getting the higher run of regions predicted better with this transformer network than we are with the classical hydrological model, but also better than we could be predicting this with convolutional network, something like the Hydra network. So these are not at all the applications machine learning that are going on in the agency, but these are the ones that I'm directly developed with. So I think I will wrap it up here. Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Chair, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, friends, panelists. Yes, I gave already 1 hour to presentation at the agency before, and then I think I received on Thursday an email saying, can you send in the PowerPoint for ACE for today? And I did manage to pull the PowerPoint together, so I hope you don't mind, but you just say about the oral intervention. It was handwritten notes. No, I think it's very clear. We talk about AI and it's this exciting development. It's breathtaking, the speed that is happening. I think we still remember the image of Dr. Bavier is the mouse and the aunt. It's truly impressive, the computational efficiency that can be reached, the speed of developments, and it's unbelievable what happened with the last 3, 4, 5 years or so. And AI is everywhere. So I think my mother was in her 80s, that she has not a strong affinity to this type of development. She bought a new Waco G9, and I think the sticker was AI controlled, was Kinsey argument for her that, it's everywhere, and it's also used as it must be good, And maybe there's a few more things that should be said about that. 5 points. My second point is now I want to focus a bit on the high meteorological aspects of AI. I think Dr. Javier made it very clear about that we can replace numerical weather prediction, the computational more efficient way, and really enhance the accuracy. I really enjoyed looking at your website. There was also where you're very transparent with the performance criteria. It's very output of very important, so to gain the trust and to demonstrate how AI can actually help to increase the accuracy. And therefore, scientists that are prepared, as you know, hopefully reduce the damage with our predictions. However, AI is everywhere in that value chain. It's at the acquisition of data. There is recently saw for last paper where they did pictures from pollen and analyzed that there's AI ready, virtualized pollen for which plants that were coming in much better behavioral predictions than it was before. So really, also AI as pattern recognition software was very helpful. But it's also throughout the quality control of the data or in downstream applications. There's AI in certainly water management, in reservoir operations, that also to support advice on irrigation advisory or on navigation of ships or heat wave in spatial planning, considering that, and that it's really everywhere. So it's not only in the numerical weather prediction part, it's really along the value chain. And what AI really also enables us is to communicate our results better. So we all as technical people also have problems to communicate to the general public or to translate our technical jargon that people on the street understand better, or the users of our predictions. And I think the AI really offers great opportunities for better translation, not only translation for languages, which is also important, but also the translation in terms of communication. AI can do. Yesterday, the panel also discussing similar items. Probably seen the panel or something, and at one point was made very clear AI enables us also to personalize warnings. And there's a couple of papers coming out in this field, and that for people who have hearing passé or handicapped or whatever, he can personalize weather predictions or psychological predictions to really personalize the advice they're behaving. And if somebody said wheelchairs for 10 minutes away, it's sounding that's a very simple example, but it really enables us to make the extra step be more effective with our terminal commission. Third point I wanted to make briefly about the WHO, the World Meteorological Organization. It's a UN agency, and it's this specialized UN agency for weather, climate, and water. And what is our role in all that? And I believe in general, can we say that the organization is proactive, trying to address the points, trying to follow the developments, and also advise its members, so the 193 member states of the WHO, to model comparison. We did this for the Google Flat modeling, for instance, with some hydrological models at different countries that can demonstrate how good it is and where not. It was actually much better often than physical-based. Also, we will leak this for us, but really, in these type of studies, you advise and support the members. There's also a joint advisory committee on AI. There's also from the UN system an advisory committee on AI. So it's everywhere. And beside the say that the technical soundness of the use of AI, it's also the wider consideration, including the ethical considerations, which are critical for new technological developments, and how do you ensure that the end user that they're accessible and following ethical standards. There we also, from the UN side, together with many experts, try to provide standards in AI, and with standards, not kind of ABA standards, so it's more best practices which are agreed on by the experts, and then which set a model of how to these methodology. So the discussing these standards, developing a philosophy on AI, national hazards was also done. Is helpful material to provide it's a bit of a jungle to provide the guidance or define for the experts the way through that jungle. The fourth point, 4F5. That's what I feel is it's really interesting. It is these recent developments over the last years. It is to some extent it's a new landscape. Well, before forecasting was maybe done by colleagues sitting in here at the panel. Today it's two players. It's the big tech, Google, Microsoft, etc. They make developments which was because of the data availability of the analysis data, was able to train models which non-big tech at the time couldn't maybe do it to that extent, and therefore they engaged in that. But it's not only the big tech; it's also the small and medium enterprises and maybe small entrepreneurs who develop it on the application which is useful. But that's the private aspect. Speaking here at the university, are the academia as key role played. So the brains that colleagues are educating here and bringing to the ideas and trained people from computer science. Deki was referring to this cooperation with the university. That is another important angle, and I believe in terms of that new landscape being the role of the National Service for Hydrometeorological the forecasting. They also have a key role. First, they have the net data. They are the authoritative voice when it comes to disaster management. They issue the warning, not somebody sitting at San Francisco. There was the accountability of big tech company in another country for being accountable for issuing warnings and triggering downstream actions that cost you sometimes. It's difficult, so therefore the National IMET Service is still absolutely critical in its role. Send it. And it's accountability also for its role. So we experience this at this very moment. There's red alert issued by the ARSO team because of the heavy rainfall to be expected later today, and it's very reassuring. You visit that place, it's reassuring to see also how they work and how they, beside the walls, still have an expert carefully analyzing it, bringing the extra judgment, and then issue the necessary warning or not. And I think bringing these academia, private, public sector together is a kind of a new way of cooperation and synergies, which enables us to this AI to venture into new territory, but also hopefully providing better services. My last point is on data. I think Florence made that point quite clear. There's the land, there's the models, and then there's the art. That is the data which is so important that any system without high quality data is useless at the end. We still need high quality data, quality assured data, accessible for everyone. The 800 W measurements a day, you should say WF, not well collects, but kind of compiles, collects for various thousands and thousands of stations, are so critical for running the waters, and making that available, that whole infrastructure around that is critical. And then when we were a student, I was working on teaching in the 90s, and then we also used the base policy and A&M at the time, and the standard saying was always garbage in, garbage out. So if you feed whatever smart water in the have, is not appropriate data, the outcome cannot be very impressive. Therefore, my second point is data is really, in case you have some policy makers in the room, so don't save money because of optimizing on monitoring. We still need all these radiators. Instead of having a beautiful AI system or weight prediction, etc., or that's all fantastic, but without good data measurements, it is all but B-score. And therefore, please don't they keep on investing in monitoring infrastructure, making the whole infrastructure for making the data also available is absolutely critical. Two small points. I wanted to say something about the trust and transparency. It's always that you have new methods, the ethical considerations are critical, but also AI are a black box. What sounds very good, having trusted this is very critical. But therefore also I think in many services, I think also at ECWF, they run still physical based on merit, what compares and learn and compare. And therefore informing also the AI model, taking it from a black box to somewhat a gray box, and what we call that now, explainable AI is really helping by constraining some parameters, some physics to that, and therefore make greater trust and having more understanding of interpretable outputs. And finally, speaking at the university, don't say can optimizing audition, we need more images, not less. Certainly in a complex genre like Slovenia. Is the role of the university in generating the talent, helping us to challenge all. Today at the RSO Jan said, well, you need more technical trend staff. So it's up to the university helping us to create the next generation of meteorologists, hydrologists, also computer sciences, actually also hydrologists. So hydrologists also did some key lectures in computer science and the mathematics, etc. Also offer the university courses for the operational sector, retrain, upskill staff with the latest methodologies. That's so critical to be able to cope. So, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am George Nicolaou, and I am working in the Ministry of Agriculture of Cyprus at the Land and Water Use section during the last 20 years. I am going to design Gripkaus Tannak Portacarlesti energy system naked tabis, which could receive the EMS Trauma Award for a standard achievement by meteorology 2025. But follow IPGO, I will mention some key points about smart sensing technology in agriculture and about Cyprus water scarcity issues. Cyprus, it has already a semi-arid climate and the most severe water scarcity problem in Europe. It has been identified as one of the main climate change hotspots in the world due to the water scarcity, concentration of economic activities in coastal areas, and areas of climate-sensitive agriculture. It's among the 10 countries with the highest water stress index among Malta and Korea. And the annual classification is about 4 to 5 millimeters a year. And during the last let's say 8 years, the rainfall decreasing about 200 milliliters. And here is here we have the number of flakes up for over 40 degrees. And we see an increase past through the last, let's say, 100 years. So, let's say then, the aspiration, now about the education worker needs, this is the aspiration, let's say, and this is a very important. So, during the education, during a cultivation period, we have to mitigate our crops, okay? Because it has so painful. And agriculture is the main consumer of irrigation. About 60% of the water is consumed by agriculture for agricultural use. The domestic use about 25%, and the industrial only 5%. So what have we done till now? We have more than let's say 100 taps reservoirs, not to storage the rain during the rainfalls. And historically, Cyprus has the highest ratio of large dams, its land area and bureau. And we also use recycled water for irrigation. In 2020, about 25 million cubic feet of recycled local water used for irrigation. And the next year, we're going to eat this, let's say, maybe almost 60 million cubic meters. So this year we have also here, this is in Cyprus. Here it's the water level at full capacity of the biggest dam in Cyprus. And today the water is less than 10% of the other capacity. So during the last 36 years, Cyprus has suffered from 9 drought events of meteorological type, which developed into meteorological goals with an air quantity 60 and 85 of the average. And here we read at the bottom of an epidemic set of vertical water. So agriculture is the main consuming of water. So we have different methods for sustainable irrigation and water management recommendations. Let's say more than 95 of the illegal blending sectors use high pressure irrigation system with high application efficiency, such as irrigation drillers. We use free irrigation scheduling programs. Let's say how much to irrigate and when to finish at the time of irrigation. We have where you met it, water pickle and water crisis in each agricultural block. But and there's some other measures. I'm not going to show this. So collective cropping system subjects greenhouses, increasing farming, increasing the water use efficiency values. That's very important because controlled environment, such as greenhouses, with the water only around, we put controlled inputs, such as water, and controlled outputs, especially in cluster carbonic systems. But why protected cultivation can be used as an adaptation to climate change? Because transpiration is lower, it's much lower compared with the same crop going outside. That is because solar radiation indoor is about 30% less compared with outdoor. And also the wind speed, which affects transpiration, it's, let's say, much lower, 1.5 meters per second. And then therefore, we have higher post-use efficiency values. Also, we have sea houses and shade nets, also for tree crops. And let's say for 1 kilo of almost 1 kilo of tomato, if we cultivate with the greenhouse, we need 4 liters of water. If we grow out here, we need 6 liters of water. That's important to produce the fertilizers. Also, this is a slide from Israel. Israel, they produce bananas within prescribed houses. Bananas is a very high water body grow. It needs about 1300 cubic meter per hectare per grow kilowatt. So, planting bananas to its greenhouse, we have kind of efficiency. And also with selling loads of those type of warning systems. So, protective mitigation be used as an adaptation climate change, and in corrective cultivation we can use operate and spatial sort technology for irrigation, scheduling, and water stress. Here we fix about let's say different sensor is a bunch of sensors, 10 microvariation sensor. Here's a tensiometer for measuring the soil moisture, and an artificial lift for the measuring the wetness. These tools are used for irrigation stuff and identify water stress the components here. So this is a weighted drainage metric system. It's also used in repair jobs. It consists of a long cell and measuring device that monitors on real time the weight of the tank, so we can estimate of transpiration. And these some key pictures from automated meteorological stations used for estimate of transpiration and irrigation sharing inside the house or outdoors. Also, this is another digital class. Qui si chirammetro, chirammeter is used alone for irrigation security, as calculation depends 0% only by soda vadeso, so we have a lot of software developed to cable irrigation for rivers or for outdoor stations. So I will give you, so we process I continue to explain or tell this is. This is a greenhouse, with an evaporate cooling system. An evaporate cooling is a technology for agriculture. The fans will warm up so the air to water separated, causing the water to evaporate on another will part and absorb heat from the air, thus lowering the temperature. But this process is high energy and the water demanding. So this is some photos of the force relation system in the greenhouse, and in the other side the evaporated cooling system. The evaporated cooling parts they needs 3 hectares of water of greenhouse crowd area estimated. And also the force application system, it's very high energy demanding, about approximately $5 per data sector. And in order to keep the temperature inside the greenhouse just 4 or 6 degrees Celsius below the outside there, approximately exceed the chances of greenhouse air corridors per hour on fire. And this system, it may working up to above 11 hours daily. So another method of cooling greenhouse is good perspiration, and a tomato or a pulver, a parparita to 4 liters per day. So more than 90% of water uptake it captures the greenhouse empty and air, and irrigation water is for tomatoes and cucumbers is about estimated up to 9 liters per day. So for one, we have the aspirations as the water evaporation through the evaporated hull. But this and that's the accurate humidity putting greenhouse is very high. But water is available out slow of the ventilation systems, it's necessary to work during the work days. So greenhouses are considered intensive architectural system where current management can decarbonize the environment due to the reaching of nitrates, pesticides, and microplastic contaminations. More than 90% of applied pesticides are washed to the environment of to reach the target area. And about the total year in phytosanitary estimates in a 5C00 iron greenhouse estimate up to 2,000 liters. And the primary source of microplastic outflows are the plastic cover, the mud. So the primary source of microplastic in the greenhouse are plastic cover, the occasional pipe, and the cycle water. The recycle occasion waters. So the TEPIS is in the framework of reducing the negative impact to the environment. The plant with part water harvesting and alkaline system making thesis based on the sticky plant approach is proposed for use in the Mediterranean greenhouses in conjunction with the renewable energy system. So how TEPIS works? This is this is typical Mediterranean greenhouse, that's the Mediterranean greenhouse. We have the photovoltaic system, the rooftop photovoltaic system, less than 20% cover area of the greenhouse. The eroding desiccant width, interconnected with the greenhouse source area relation system, with otherwise been work in order to reduce the temperatures of the greenhouse. And the rotating desiccant system, 83 piece is a common device used to the desiccant root system is a common device with much charcoal there using a slowly rotated horizontally with acted with desiccant materials like secondary or hybrids. So as the Kiwija cuts to a desiccant way, the weight of his worker. And the absorption and regeneration catalogs are forced to enact the carbon filter unit for pesticide and microplastic absorption and removal. So, sensing multiple markets. So, in order to run up the motor, the exhaust fan, a network of sensor for assessing plant physiological conditions directly interconnected to the greenhouse exhaust fans run up. Multi-scale orderly defines the initial knowledge of the optimum preset range of the temperature and deep humidity. And the proposal in Kelly's method will handle real-time computation of plant physiological conditions to establish desired environmental conditions. So in addition, the on and off times open the ventilation system will occur the decrease as dry air on terrace will help the greenhouse exactly cause changes. And this is a pilot scale study assuming M kilos of desiccant product. We estimate approximately 1 to 1.5 cubic meter of water to produce cocktails. In other words, the water that is later taken from the evaporated cup will be collected so that can induce during the 2 warm months of the year. So, thanks for your attention. I wish to somehow got the idea of how this is.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks very much, many university journalists, attendants, got day here. I have a presentation got on actually want to talk about some of the bigger which is meteorology. In the context of things, embracing some of these presentations. I come from a very small country, from a small country called Predstavitve in a small country called Switzerland. And that's very similar to Slovakia, which is also small. And it's hard for meteorologists because it has mountains and valleys and some strange changes in landscape. So it always gives us headaches as meteorologists because the weather doesn't do what we think it should. With the help of machinery, AI, physics, Montessori, that's what observation is still meteorology. We can do quite a good job on it. But it's actually important for us because when we climb mountains, it's not just whether the barbecue is comfortable or not, it's whether we come back or not. If we get stuck in a snowstorm, that may be the last trip. So meteorology is important for us, and I think Slovenia is too. But there's another thing about small countries, which is borders. We have lots of borders. And meteorology doesn't respect that. Clouds don't have passports. They travel. So our business as meteorologists is business where we have to cooperate. Because the clouds don't say goodbye and checking it to the next land space and announce up this a little bit. No, they just. And we meteorologists, we have to, and I'm talking about the whole community right here, with observation satellites, models, we have to understand where they're coming from and where they're going. So this is the big picture. Now, the very big picture is that there's only 150,000 of us worldwide. That includes, them will know, just a small band, includes one sector. That's an awful little. Now, we're important because if we don't function, then maybe food will be more expensive. You just saw them on children's presentations. You may not get enough drinks in the supermarket on the end of a hot day because they run out. They don't have a forecast that you will drink by it. But worst, if we stop working, the lights will off. Because in the renewable energy system today, driven by wind, solar, and water, if we don't have a focus, we won't be able to produce enough energy, storing energy to know. So that's the importance of meteorology. And there were 150,000 people. How many people Google has, you know? It's about 108,000. So if all people stop working, is the world going to stop? Perhaps research will be more painful, but we will continue. If all meteorologists stop working, lights will off. What do you prefer? So this is the importance of what we're doing. And now how we do that, you saw them in the previous presentations, there are different stages, observations, satellites, modeling, products, delivery to different industries, pilots, how organization of weather services, or at the end of this chain delivering to railways, electricity grids, shipping companies, airlines, media, TV, agriculture, blah, blah. So we're transforming all these raw data into final products for customers. What I think is really important is that we are all connected. We get good data from the local observatories. We get good model data from larger organizational. Fact data by science. We get good computing resources from our partners and vendors. We got good customer input from our customers who tell us what to do and know how to consumer data. We didn't trade. So all this is predicated on this chain working. That is ethos. And that's by cooperation, industry is probably more important than inner limitations. And that's why what we like to say here, Now there's two more things I want to say, and the first thing is talking about technology. I will say it in a different way. Our job is more than bringing 150,000 people are not a lot, and the challenges we have such as inundating Cyprus, which is drying out, stopping the floods, which are wiping towns away, keeping the electricity running, managing all these airlines or so. That's more than 150,000 people can possibly do. So we need to be good at choosing what we do because we can't do it. And AI helps us in reducing the workload. You saw from us presentation, hiring a few staff for doing something, but that's not because we want to save money. It's because we need those hands to do other things which are more important. That's really a key message which I want to say. And the other key message you heard it already, the AI is good, but it is also going to be dangerous because it's going to flood you with more information. Do you have enough information of the day? Or do you want more? You'll get more. Much more. You'll get 3 forecasts of the second location, the second day, 3 points. Maybe we need to think about how to make that easier for you, because you might not want 3. And you'll be bombarded not only by meteorologists, but that other businesses also using AI. So information is going to continue exploding. That's the one thing I want to say. The other thing is more serious. Oh, your president already said it, it's for climate change. And climate change is going to put everything on, let's say, in question. Our minimum temperatures for buildings, heating and cooling our global warming. How deeply do we put pipes of water into the ground? How much irrigation can we still pour in agriculture? How long, which crops will be able to grow? Which extreme events do we have to prepare? Is the next rate going to be 150 millimeters? Or is it going to be 250? And what are we going to do if we get 250? By the way, that explains why AI is not the only solution, because if I tell you tomorrow it's going to be 250 millimeters of rain, what are you going to do? Do you know what happens when 250 millimeters come? Have you actually thought about it with your firefighters, your traffic managers, your city council, etc., etc.? Yes, you will think about it 20 minutes further because AI delivered the message for the initially. No, you will spend weeks, months, years preparing for that scenario, thinking what you're going to do, so you can prevent or reduce the impact. So much more has to be done in the front end in preparing for the changes as we're used to invest. And this is one of the big challenges. So my last word is going to be to stay in time is actually there's a lot of diversity, people here and middle-aged, older people. Tell your children and your grandchildren that one of the aspects of the most contributions they can make to the future, which choose a profession is meteorology.